I'm going to be recording this. So there's going to be replays going out to everybody in the email. So if you have registered, you'll get that in the email. You can always go back to it. You will also have that worksheet that I sent out to you guys with specific foods that support specific areas of your digestion. And we're going to be talking about some of those today as well. But you can always refer to that worksheet because it's going to be helpful for you to just kind of like start to become in tune which area of your digestion you need to work on. I will also screen share my screen. We're going to go through some housekeeping items before I start. So it's going to be a little bit of a presentation, but I don't want this to be a, me talking, you just sitting there, listening, absorbing, maybe tuning out, I want this to be engaging. So if you do have questions, comments, whatever it is, pop it in the chat. By the end of it, I will open up the floor, so to speak, for everybody to share a little bit what they have learned, or maybe even questions, concerns that you guys have. You can speak with me directly and we can talk about it. So I will start to screen share my screen. Presentation takes about 45 minutes. And if you want to get off camera, that is fine. I always like to see faces, but if not, that is also totally okay. The only thing I would ask you to do is to mute yourself throughout the presentation. And then when I'm done later on, you can unmute yourself and we can have a conversation. That is okay. So again, welcome everybody. I'm happy you are here. Let me share my screen and then we can go ahead and get started. Let me see. I just want to make sure that this is done right. Okay, hold on. I have to go into my presentation and change the view. Just 1 second. Okay. So hold on. I'm going to do the slideshow from beginning. Okay. So that is one of the things that I'm not good at, and that is technology. So honestly, there's always something that's not working for me when it comes to technology. So I'm hoping that today everything is working well for us here. Okay, here we go. Yes. Okay. So in the chat, if you guys could just let me know if you can see everything well.
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, awesome. All right, let's get this started. Super excited for this topic, dialing in digestion and leaving leaky gut behind. So my first question actually that I have for you guys is, who here has been diagnosed with leaky gut, quote unquote diagnosed, or who in here believes that you do have leaky gut? Like, do you have any sort of symptoms that you believe is pointing towards leaky gut? Let me know. And I'm just going to adjust the speaker thing there. Okay. So dialing in digestion and leaving leaky gut behind workshop, like I said before, it is so important to really go into the foundation of our health, because when we are dealing with an autoimmune, we're dealing with chronic inflammation, which means that our body is constantly breaking down cells and it's constantly trying to rebuild cells. And we can only do that when we're actually getting the nutrients that we're consuming to the cells, to where they need to go. That is why we have to really look at digestion absorption and see if that is something that we have to work on. And in most cases, honestly, it always is. So my name is Cordula. For those of you who don't really know me that well, let me just put this back here. Welcome, my name is Cordula. I am a certified holistic nutritionist. There we go. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist, which what that means is that I was certified by the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition about, I would say, 5 years ago now. And I'll give you a little bit of my background story just so that you can relate where I'm coming from and, what I found in this whole autoimmune world, and that maybe you can connect with my story a little bit more so that you know that you feel that you're not alone in this because you're not. I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's and PCOS 11 years ago, approximately. That was when I got my first official diagnosis. So, as we all know, and I think you can all relate, give me hands up if you can relate, is that we have experienced symptoms for a number of years prior to our diagnosis. And then almost when we're getting diagnosed, it's almost like a relief, so to speak. I hear that often, and it was for me too, in a sense, in that I finally had something I could work with because I felt so bad that I thought, oh my goodness, my life is over. I don't know how to deal with that. Um, I experienced the frustration of being underserviced and not taken seriously by allopathic medicine. So, underserviced, what does that mean? It doesn't mean that I am all out here to try to bash medicine or medical professionals and everything like that. I think they're doing a wonderful job in this world. They certainly have something, our society needs. But in terms of chronic disease and trying to find help in managing and supporting chronic inflammation, I found that there's a big gap in this society in that our medical approach is very much symptom oriented in terms of how can we get rid of that symptom versus how can we proactively try to help our body to get back into balance, right? So I was running from doctor to doctor. I was referred to specialist. All of these specialists didn't talk with one another. So they don't know what the other person said. And so I was left in the middle, struggling, trying to figure out what was happening with my body. Everything was breaking down. I was on so many medications, so many supplementation. Even when I went to a naturopathic doctor, I found that I thought, oh my goodness, okay, so now I'm going to fix myself. I'm going to go see a naturopathic doctor. I never went to a functional medicine professional. So I went to a naturopathic doctor, but even with the naturopathic doctor, what I found was that he started to explain a few more things for me, which made sense. But the line of action was supplementation. So I always left his office with a trunk full of supplementation, like $200, $300 every month, which I thought was incredible. I thought that can't be it, right? So I really then decided to take matters into my own hands, so to speak. And so I enrolled in nutrition school, which was a life-changing experience for me. I really understood my body so much better. I understood how other components have such a huge impact on our health, lifestyle, and stress management specifically. And so I started to put all of these pieces together on my own with the help of my fellow students in my classes and my teachers, and I started to see change in my body, which was incredible. I didn't know that that was possible, and so after nutrition school, I was so amazed and so grateful for my transformation that I decided to step out of my corporate job and decided to help other women now, like you. Um, Ambitious women with an autoimmune disease to really step out of the autoimmune overwhelm, to learn how to reduce inflammation through delicious nutrition, lifestyle changes, mindset changes, so that they can go from really surviving to thriving. That is my purpose in life, and that is what I do now. This presentation will last approximately 45 to 60 minutes, and then we'll do 15 minutes of Q&A, but please put all of your questions in the chat. I will be so happy to answer them for you. Hey, Brenda, nice to see you. I'm just going to be going back to my speaker only screen. So I just wanted to pop in and say hi. Okay, awesome. All right, here we go. Okay, so let's do this. So my story, Yes, so that is me to the left. That was in the midst of my autoimmune nightmare. When I was diagnosed, I had two little ones. I had a newborn and I had a 2-year-old daughter. And I was very extremely fatigued. I felt very depressed. I suffered from extensive food allergies. I insensitivities as well. I experienced extreme fatigue. I experienced bloating, intense seasonal allergies, like to a point where I could not even open the windows as soon as May hit for 2 months straight. Um, Crazy hormonal imbalances, and my adrenals were completely at rock bottom. So this is my starting point. You can see the bags under my eyes. The purplish color was inflammation, allergies, all of these things. Then my hair it was breaking, right? So I had to cut my hair. It was breaking. It started to lose its curls. It was really thinning out. My skin was pale, almost chalky. My eyebrows fell out entirely, and you can see that my eyelashes started to also be affected. So I was not well. To the right, that was a vacation in Italy that we did actually a few years back. And now I'm in my mid 40s and life is pretty amazing. So to the left, I was in my early 30s and now I'm in my mid 40s. What you guys will learn today, and this is something I'm really passionate about because honestly, this was one of the key understandings that I needed to move out of my chronic inflammation. You will learn about digestion and absorption. You will learn about leaky gut, and you will learn some strategies, right? So I will share some strategies that you can implement right away. So digestion and absorption is really the number one key pillar that everyone needs to bring back into balance. If you guys are serious about creating long-term health, you need to focus on your digestion and absorption. And it doesn't just having supplementation to help you with that, being on the digestive enzymes and doing all the things, glutathione for your leaky gut, you might have heard, and just cutting out gluten and dairy, it's not going to cut it. You have to dig a little deeper. You will learn a little bit about leaky gut, not too much, and how it plays a role in creating inflammation and how it affects digestion. Okay, so leaky gut and digestion and absorption are very much linked. And if you address both of them at the same time, you will see massive changes. Strategies. You will learn some easy to implement strategies to get started on dialing in your digestion right away. But I do want to say it's a process. It's not something that happens overnight, and you have to just be patient and you have to believe that your body is able of quote unquote healing itself. It's repairing and restoring on a regular basis. So just hang in there and it will work. It will work if you are being consistent and if you're having faith. So some housekeeping items before we get started is be engaged. Put your comments in the chat, ask your questions. I'll reply to everybody in the chat, right? The more energy you share with me, the more energy I can share with you, and you get the most out of this. For those of you who are watching this in the replay later on, do the same. Just send me a message on Messenger or IG or even email and let me know about your findings. Take notes. Make sure that you take notes and that you are kind of like putting the information on paper so that you can connect with that information a little bit more. Again, put the questions in the chat and I will address them later after the presentation. And ask questions, right? So you're here to learn. You're here because you want to better your health. You're here because you're interested in stepping out of the overwhelm. So ask your questions if you have them, right? Put them in the chat. I will answer them. Open up. At the end of the call, I will open up the floor for questions and discussions. Okay, so let's get this started. Number one, I want to talk, first of all, I want to give you an overview of what leaky gut is, because sometimes I find that there's a little bit of a misconception there. So I just wanted to quickly go over that so you guys know what we're talking about. Leaky gut. So leaky gut is not a diagnosis. And I think I asked before, yeah, if you guys have been diagnosed, because some people even go to a functional doctor and have a leaky gut test done. To be quite honest with you, I truly believe that is a waste of money, because in any case, leaky gut is an issue if you're dealing with an autoimmune just by default. So if you want to get that confirmation on a piece of paper, go ahead and do a leaky gut test. But I can tell you that everybody who has done that just get the same, like the confirmation, and then the same action is going to be necessary in order to reverse it. So I believe you could really save that money. It's not a diagnosis, right? It's a process. It's a condition in which not only nutrients are being absorbed into the bloodstream, but also food particles enter. So leaky gut is something that happens because of inflammation. Intestinal permeability is the real word for it. So intestinal permeability, which gives you clues. It happens in your small intestine where absorption happens, and permeability. Leaky gut is intestinal permeability is when your intestinal lining is starting to become more permeable to particles that are not supposed to go into your bloodstream. So it's a condition in which connections between the cells that line the inside of the intestines, they become looser, right? So it's almost like a cheesecloth. I like to say that it really resonates with people a lot. It's like you have this cheesecloth and it's very thin. It's only one cell thick. And, it has that multifaceted duties, because it's supposed to bring in nutrients, but it's also supposed to keep stuff out that's not supposed to go into your bloodstream. So the cheesecloth, it becomes looser, it widens, it starts to allow large food particles to pass through the gut wall, which causes inflammation. So here's a really good picture I was going to share with you, where you can kind of like see what's happening in there. It's called intestinal hyperpermeability, aka leaky gut. When you think about your GI tract, I really want you to imagine your GI tract, right? It starts really in your mouth, and it's a tube that goes through your entire body, and it has all sorts of nooks and crannies, and it's folded and all of these things, and it's the size of a tennis court. So you can imagine the level of absorption that is happening on a regular basis in your intestines. And we have to keep in mind that the GI tract is actually the outside of your body. It's only separated by one cell. Why do I say it's the outside of your body, right? Because people think it's the inside, but it's not. Why is that? Because it is outside of your bloodstream. Whatever you're ingesting into your system, if it's not absorbed, it's likely going to go through and then it's going to be pushed out. So it's not going to have an effect on, your body, so to speak, in terms of, inflammation or bloodstream entering your bloodstream. So the purpose is to allow nutrients in and to keep pathogenic bacteria out. And what is also important is that, so you see those tight junctions. So these are the cheesecloth things that I was talking about, on those junctions of proteins, and they widen, and then they let in all of those pathogens, or also improperly digested food particles into the blood. And that is when your immune system is starting to react. Always keep in mind, and I always bring it back to this point, is that when you're dealing with an autoimmune, you're dealing specifically with your immune system at all times. It can show up in your body, in your thyroid, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, in your joints, rheumatoid arthritis, all of these things. But at the core of it, it's your immune system that is involved. And the largest number of guards, the white blood cells, are stationed on your lining, on your gut lining. you have a vast amount of white blood cells stationed there. See those little purple balls here? For a reason, because it's such a high traffic area. There's so much stuff coming in, so they need to be on guard, right? So this is just to really visualize for you leaky gut. It's complex, and there's many parts involved, but really it's the stuff that shouldn't be going into your bloodstream is what is happening here through leaky gut. So here's another picture that I wanted to show you is, see the tube here, that is your small intestine. And this little cutout here at the bottom, the red box, is really what you see larger below. So you have those tight junctions, you have the undigested food particles, toxins, and bacteria that are not being filtered out anymore. So they are coming through and they're entering your bloodstream. And this is when your immune system is starting to react. Food should never cross into the bloodstream, only nutrients. So again, now let's bring that into digestion. If we are not digesting our food properly, food particles are too large, they're starting to go into the bloodstream, right? So we can feel a food reaction in all areas of our bodies. We can feel it in our joints, we can feel it in our fatigue, fibromyalgia. It can show up anywhere depending on where you are in your life and how your body is reacting to different pathogens and toxins, different for everybody. Okay, so I hope this was helpful. Let me know in the chat if you have any questions around leaky gut syndrome. So that was just really a quick overview to let you know how digestion comes into play with that, and also absorption, because we'll talk about that next, is where does absorption happen? And I'm going to be asking you guys, let me know, where does absorption happen in your body? I would like to know if you guys have an idea. Just going to wait here for a second. Because that is important to understand. We need to really understand where it happens. Yes, in the small intestine. That's right. So what happens in the stomach then? What happens if absorption happens in the small intestine? What happens in the stomach? Digestion. What kind of digestion? Let's talk about it. It's really, really important to understand. Okay, so we are entering a vicious cycle, right? It always starts with it starts off with a GI irritant. This can be stress, this can be infection, toxic overload. Poor digestion and food choices are always a key player in it, and or all of it. This is like the autoimmune vicious cycle that I'm showing you here. Okay, so there's always a GI irritant involved. And honestly, stress can be a GI irritant, but that is a whole different story, because that is like a topic about the vagus nerve and the gut vagus nerve and the gut brain connection right there. Okay, so we should not be forgetting about that. But today we're going to be talking about digestion. So poor digestion leads to nutrient malabsorption, right? So nutrient malabsorption, what I oftentimes see is a lack in vitamin B12, lack of magnesium, and lack of iron. And that is mainly due to poor digestion. So what happens if we don't get the nutrients into our cells, right? We are becoming malabsorbed. And so when we're not breaking down our food properly, 100% the way it's supposed to, it crosses that gut lining and it goes into your bloodstream and it causes an immune response. It's a non-specific response, right? So it's not something that our immune system is trained for specifically, like say a specific virus that it's now, it's reacting to that specific virus with a specific line of action. It is a non-specific response just to like try to get rid of all of the stuff that is coming in. So that is why there's such a widespread inflammatory response happening in your body, which then leads to GI issues, multiple food intolerances. So taking out the food in order to get rid of the symptoms. So, cutting out the food in order to get rid of the symptoms is never, ever a long-term solution. That is really something that I would like to get out there, right? Because I hear a lot of people are going on, restrictive eating or elimination diets for a very long time. Let me know in the chat if you have been on an elimination diet for a long time, or if you have tried one, and what were your findings. So, and then that leads to chronic inflammation, leading to continued intestinal inflammation of the gut lining, which then is a factor in autoimmune disease. So what are the root causes, right? The root causes are dysbiosis, chronic stress, we have low stomach acid, we have toxin exposure, and we have infections and antibiotics. So those are all root causes for intestinal permeability and leaky gut. And then also, because of that, root causes for autoimmune. Just wanted to put that out there. Today, we're going to be focusing on the digestion part of it. So we're going to be talking a little bit about low stomach acid, which is a huge factor in that. And the other parts, probably going to be doing another workshop around those as well. But it's not all doomsday, okay? So there's always good news. So I have found in my life that whenever there's a problem, there's already a solution in place. We just have to find it. We have to find the solution for us. And let's try to find it. Let's try to look into it and how we can start doing that. You can repair your gut. And that is so amazing with our bodies. We can repair our gut, right? Our bodies are meant to move into homeostasis. They're meant to move into balance. It's just the way our bodies were created, right? Every day there's cell destruction happening on every level, but our bodies are using our nutrients in order to repair and rebuild. Our gut actually has the ability to repair itself daily. In fact, it's amazing to see that studies show that the gut lining renews every 7 days. So in every 7 days, you can have an entirely renewed gut lining. And that is good news because we can work with that. We just have to now start to give our bodies the tools and strategies that it needs and support to repair. So there's a rapid, almost complete renewal of the functional epithelium, which is fancy word for gut lining, by the stem cells on a daily basis. They're called enterocytes, right? So they have the highest turnover rate of any fixed cell population in the body. It's really, really incredible. But again, it does not happen overnight, right? Because once pathology is there and it's severe, it takes time. And I want to bring back that picture of the tennis court, right? And the other picture that you saw on your leaky gut is that, remember all of those microvilli, the ups and downs that is happening in your gut? And the vast length of it, like the size of a tennis court, like all folded up neatly and tightly. There's so much gut lining that if there is enough severity in pathology and intestinal permeability, it takes time to repair all of these things, right? It's not just in one spot. Yes, so it's possible, right? But if there's a steady stream of gut disruptors coming in and they never pause, your body will simply just not be able to catch up with it. And that is important to know. And that is important to understand when you're starting the work, right? And when something doesn't quickly happen the way you expected it to be, again, you got to have patience and you have to trust the process. because you're doing it step by step. So how can we intervene? Right? The biggest thing that you can do in order to help your body is by dialing in your digestion first. Let me see. So with regards to, I'm just checking in the chat. I'm on such a diet for a long time, but it doesn't get better. I was on one, but didn't stick with it. It's only changing the symptoms. Yes. So see, I hear that so often. I hear that all the time, right? That either it doesn't get better or it does get better on the elimination diet, but then 6 months later, it gets worse most of the time. Women are struggling with sticking with it because it's very restricting and it's affecting your joy, it's affecting your life and all of these things. So how can we intervene? We can intervene by dialing in digestion. To get to proper digestion and absorption, you need to replace and repair. You need to replace and repair, right? And I'll talk about that in a second so that you understand what I mean when I say replace and repair. You need to strengthen the immune system and prevent disease through healthy digestion. I want to challenge you to change your mindset. I want to challenge you to go from fixing to preventing further damage, right? You're still creating and replacing and repairing, but you're also creating something that is preventing you long-term in your body, long-term from going down the same route again. So what do I mean by replacing and repair? I will talk about that in a second when we go to that area a little bit more. So let's take a look at digestion. Where does digestion begin? What I always say and what I have been doing for myself and still doing at this point for myself is assess yourself. Try to get rid of all of the noise that's out there and telling you what you need to do and what you need to eat and not to eat and all of these things. It's different for everybody. There's certain frameworks and strategies, but within that you can navigate depending on how your body is feeling. Ask yourself questions. Where does digestion begin? Where does your body break down your proteins, carbs, and fats? Where do you absorb your food? And what happens in the colon? Only when you become very clear, you can connect those symptoms that you're experiencing with those parts, and then you can take proper action. So, where does digestion begin? Actually, I would like to ask you, where does digestion begin? Let me know in the comments if you have an idea. Mouth, in the mouth. Yep. Yeah, that's interesting. That's what everybody thinks. But there's one step before that, and that is your senses. That is where digestion begins. It begins with your senses. Next step is your mouth. Yes, because your mouth is starting to chew and starting to break down, and it's starting to, your salivary glands are actually pumping out digestive enzymes in your mouth, which allows your mouth to absorb carbohydrates. Up to 60-70% are being absorbed in your mouth already if you chew properly. However, before that, your senses are triggering your salivary glands. Your senses are the ones that are putting your whole body into a rest and digest phase. How many of you guys in here really take your time to sit down with each meal, take 5 deep breaths, look at your food, not the phone, right? Not the phone or the computer, at your desk, but who in here has created an environment where your body moves into a nice setting and you are starting to allow yourself to go into that rest and digest phase that opens up digestion, that switches off your go, go, go mode into, so the fight and flight mode into rest and digest mode. I can honestly tell you that for me personally, I didn't have that. That was something that I had to create. Nobody told me that. I need to look at my food so that my senses, my eyesight can signal to my brain that there's food incoming now. I need to smell it so that my salivary glands are starting to fire up. I need to find that relaxing environment so that my digestion is opening up. So I had to create that space with my little toddlers. Back then they were a little bit older, so that we can actually enjoy mealtime together. So this is where digestion starts. And this is where you can make a huge difference already, right? You need to chew your food. It's so important to chew your food. Remember, your stomach doesn't have teeth, and your small intestine certainly doesn't have teeth. So who in here finds that, if you're paying attention, that you are actually starting to swallow bigger chunks of food when you're eating? Sometimes I even found myself that I was swallowing things and they were getting stuck in my esophagus. They were too big. Well, if you're doing that, you're putting a lot of pressure on everything that's coming further down. So a quick overview of your digestive organs here is, see how long that tube is, right? So starts with the senses, it goes into your mouth. That is where the mechanical digestion happens, right? Mixing the saliva, your enzymes, with the food, breaking it down. 70% of carbohydrates can be digested in your mouth. So take advantage of that, because you're alleviating a pancreas from having to pumping out more digestive enzymes. Your pancreas is a really busy organ, because your pancreas further down is not only supplying you with digestive enzymes to complete digestion, right? But it also has a very important role to play in insulin, turning out insulin for blood sugar stabilization. It deals with your blood sugar. And so many of us in here have blood sugar issues. So your pancreas is really an overburdened organ. So the stomach, we had somebody, I think it was Christine, who said earlier that, or Laura, I think, that digestion happens in your stomach. But what type of digestion happens? Is there carbohydrate digestion happening in your stomach? No, there's no carbohydrate digestion happening in your stomach. Your stomach is dealing mostly with proteins. That is why it needs to be such an acidic environment. That is why you need to have an immense amount of hydrochloric acid, stomach acid available to break down the proteins. So now relate that to your symptoms. How many of you in here have issues with hair loss, or with nails that are breaking, or with nails that have those ridges on top of them? It almost looks like little waffles. Who in here does not see their half moons on their fingernails, on all of them? Those are all signs and symptoms that your protein digestion is not up to par. Those are all symptoms that, shows you, flags to you that you need to work on your protein digestion in your stomach. So that means, how is your stomach acid? Do you know how your stomach acid is? Do you get acid reflux sometimes? Oftentimes with us in autoimmune, it's not an overly active stomach. It's actually the opposite. It's you have not enough, you have less stomach acid than you need in order to break down those proteins properly. So let me just quickly look in the chat. Reflux, nail issues forever, me, hair thinning. Yes, me, yes. Yes. Oh my goodness. So see, it honestly affects everybody, and we need to understand where this is coming from. So make sure that your stomach acid is plentiful, right? That you are able to break down those proteins, because let's bring that a little bit further. What happens? What happens if your stomach has low stomach acid? It has issues in, liberating the iron from the meat you're eating. It has issues creating B12 vitamins. It has issues, breaking down all of the proteins into each amino acid, which means all of the amino acids that are not broken down properly are just moving on into the small intestine, where digestion should be finished by now. Small intestine should only be dealing with absorption, right? So, and now it's sitting there and it's causing you irritation on your gut lining. Does that make sense? Pancreas, I talked about, it completes the digestion of starches. It carries out half of the protein digestion. So the more the less you're digesting your stomach, the pancreas will have to work on it a little bit more. And then we're suffering from like pancreas issues, that if your pancreas is sluggish, pancreas cannot do the things it's supposed to be doing, especially around blood sugar too. Just a quick question, who in here has issues with blood sugar? It's another thing, right? So let's move on. I can talk about this forever, but I think this is pretty clear now. So just quickly understanding digestion, right? So you have carbohydrates, you have proteins, and you have fats. Carbohydrates are, like I said, they can be 60%, 60% of them can be digested in your mouth, then not the stomach, they go right through, and then they're being absorbed in your small intestine. Your saliva has digestive enzymes in them, and then you also have the pancreatic enzymes that are helping to break down the carbohydrates. And then on the brush border, so this is in your small intestine, you also have some enzymes sitting that can help with carbohydrate digestion right there on site. Okay, proteins, stomach. In your stomach, this is where protein is being digested, right? So small intestine is only going to be absorbing it. You need plenty of hydrochloric acid. There's pancreatic enzymes that also continue the protein digestion. So I should say the bulk majority of the protein digestion is in the stomach, not the only place, because pancreatic enzymes are helping with that as well, and some brush border enzymes as well. Fat absorption. So fat absorption is a little bit different, it's a little bit more complicated. Actually, your lymphatic system is involved in fat absorption. So again, you have pancreatic enzymes that are helping you to break down the fat, but the fats actually need to be absorbed first. So fats need to be absorbed first, and then they need to be transferred to the lymphatic system, which delivers it to the liver, and that is actually where the absorption happens for fat. So and bile, you need bile for that as well. So that's a little bit of a different way of absorption there. So if you cannot digest and absorb your food, your cells will not get the nourishment they need, right? It's as simple as that. So what are the 5 main reasons that I see in my practice that are, kind of like, not helping with the absorption? So number 1 is poor chewing and rushed eating. And I talked about that. It's really so important that we take time, we go into our meals with the right mindset, in order to help our digestion as it starts with the senses. Stomach acid insufficiency is one of the major reasons as to why we're not absorbing our food properly. Bile salt insufficiency, huge thing that I see for fat absorption. So fat absorption is, like something you can look out for is when you're actually your bowel movements, which I want you to start to look at your bowel movements every day so that you get very familiar with them. Is if your stool starts to float, like if it's almost like it's supposed to sink down into the toilet, but if it floats up, there's fat absorption issues happening in your body. If you have like dandruff or anything like that, really dry skin, fat absorption issue. Another main reason is enzyme insufficiencies. And I talked about that, about the pancreas, right? We're not giving our pancreas enough love. Pancreas is really working so hard because if anything above our pancreas is not optimal, the pancreas is going to suffer. And with it, the pancreatic enzymes, and with it, insulin response. And the lack of dietary fiber. So big issue, I'm going to show you in the solutions section how you can determine where your fiber level is at. So let's go into the strategies that can help you digest a little bit better. Just taking my time here, 10 to 11. Okay. So as you now know, there's different components to digestion, and there's different things you can do to help each section. So for your stomach, you want to support stomach acid. Warm lemon water in the morning can be very helpful. It can also be helpful in just supporting your liver at the same time. You can also try to eat something bitter before your meals. It helps your salivary glands and it helps stomach acid production. What I like to do is, or I used to do a lot of is, and that's something I tell my clients all the time, to take 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar before meals. Not straight, don't do it. It's going to be not very pleasing to do, but in a little bit diluted in a little bit of water. That'll help you. It'll help your stomach acid. Another thing is peppermint tea or chewing mint leaves is a really nice way of increasing the stomach acid. And I know that, I think it was Laura. No, it wasn't Laura. Helen. I think Helen said that she is actually drinking chamomile tea right now, which is, it's beautiful because the chamomile tea is actually really soothing on the stomach. So if there's like some sort of acid reflux happening, that can be helpful. So if these things are not working well, or if you are in a position where you have tested your hydrochloric acid and you find that, you need a little bit more extra help, there's always hydrochloric acid you can take. So this brand is just something I like, but if you want to talk about brands and supplementation, I would definitely suggest, encourage you to talk with your healthcare practitioner you're working with, if that is the right choice for you. So I like to use the Now brand. So it's really because it's the beginning of the digestive cascade. The hydrochloric acid is basically, you're just supplementing the acid that your body is currently not making. So it can be really helpful, especially if there's also like bloating going on and further down the line, and some gut extension in terms of like you feel bloated and you feel as if you're like 9 months pregnant. There's a lot of stuff coming in your system, and it can sterilize the body, right? Because it protects your body from incoming pathogens. That is another reason why we want the hydrochloric acid up, because it can really proactively filter out those pathogens in your body. Is the supplement for protein or everything? Yeah, so this is basically you're supplying your stomach acid. That is basically stomach acid in a pill format. So yeah, it's supporting your stomach acid in your stomach only. nothing else. So strategies that help your digestive enzymes, right? So stomach, we talked about stomach now, a few things you can do in order to support your stomach, but now we go further down the line. We go down to the pancreas. How can you do that? So pancreas is something, again, that breaks down all of the different components, right? Carbohydrates, protein, and fats. So you can take digestive bitters. So there's herbs, botanicals that are really nice. I like them actually much better than digestive enzymes because digestive enzymes per se can be really harsh on your system. And a lot of people are reacting to it with nausea because it's too much. Digestive bitters are a little bit more, softer on the system in terms of what they actually do is they help your pancreas to help support your pancreas to churn out a higher amount of pancreatic enzymes versus just supplying them to your pancreas. But again, it's something you want to discuss with your healthcare practitioner. There's foods that actually have digestive enzymes in them already. So there's papaya and pineapple. Those two foods specifically have digestive enzymes in their food. So while you eat them, you're also eating a digestive enzymes that can help you break down your food. There's a big topic that I actually teach my clients is about proper food combining. That is something that can make a huge difference in your digestion. You need to understand how to food combine properly to support your digestion. Okay, so what I can tell you here is I can tell you the PFF rule, which is protein, fat, and fiber. You always want to combine protein, fats, and fibers with every single meal and snack. Okay, so don't just eat the fruit by itself. Add a little bit of nut butter to it. Okay, there's a lot of things you can do with the food combining, but I'm not going into that because that is something that I teach in my programs. There's also blood sugar. So quite honestly, because we talked about pancreas and the importance of pancreas, right? And pancreas being a main player in blood sugar control. So you want to make sure that you relieve your pancreas with a blood sugar protocol. That is also something that I teach in my programs to my clients, but you can take this information to your healthcare practitioner and you can talk about how to stabilize your blood sugar so that you can actually support your pancreas and the function of the pancreas in digestion. Okay, it's very important, very important. Digestive bitters, like I said, is a supplement that you can take. It helps to stimulate your pancreatic enzymes. It helps support your salivary glands. It can reduce nausea. Because oftentimes I find that a lot of people experience nausea when they're eating, especially in the morning. It can help the breakdown of proteins and fats as well. And it helps improve low stomach acid at the same time a little bit. Not too much, but a little bit. So those digestive bitters are a beautiful addition to everything else that you can do in order to bring your pancreas back up on track to help you with digestion. So now we're moving a little bit into the leaky gut, the side of absorption. And the question that I always get is, can you repair your gut lining? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. So I was just looking at the chat. Hold on. I take betaine HCl with pepsin. Don't look like I'm 7 months pregnant any longer. That's great, right? Because again, there you found a root cause. You knew that your stomach acid was low. But the main goal is always you want to get off of those hydrochloric acid, right? So you have to do the work to support your stomach to start making their own hydrochloric acid. Leaky gut, the site of absorption. Yes, you can repair your gut lining. You can do that with foods and you can do that with specific supplementation. And you can also, most importantly, do that with stress management and lifestyle changes. It's a huge part of it. I can only always say that. But you can use foods and supplementation in order to help out with that, right? So just wanted to quickly also give you that little notion of that leaky gut puts an extra burden on your liver. And why is that? That is why you need to pull the liver in sometimes as well. Because all foods pass directly from the bloodstream through the liver for filtration. So your liver filters everything first, right? Before it goes anywhere. So the liver is really your main filtration center. And when the liver is bombarded with inflammatory irritants due to leaky gut and incomplete digestion, it has less energy to neutralize chemical substances. So chemical substances are being neutralized in the liver. It's your main detoxification organ, and it can become sluggish, just like the pancreas, right? So this is just something for you to keep in mind in the back of your mind to do work around as well. So strategies that help restore gut integrity. So there's beautiful foods that can use to help restore gut integrity, leaky gut, right? So add nutrient-dense foods such as glutathione promoting foods. So I guess that all of you guys in here, maybe not, have heard about glutathione, which is one of the body's, biggest anti-inflammatory components. And your body actually makes glutathione on its own. But what I always hear is that people say when they hear leaky gut and they want to repair their gut, first thing is they run to the supplement store and they get glutathione. And then they say, okay, glutathione is all that I need. Not as easy as that. Even though glutathione can be very helpful in promoting, restoration of gut integrity, but you can do that with food as well. So here are some examples. I'm going to go into more depth in a minute. You have to add fiber. Okay, so here is the fiber thing that I talked about earlier. You need to add fiber to your diet. You have to. We are not eating enough fiber. So what I want you to do today is I want you to go to Chronometer. It's an app, it's a free app, and you can track your fiber. And just do that for a day, maybe 2 days, 3 days, to get a feel, again, assess where are you at with your fiber intake. If you are not reaching 30 grams per day, you're not eating enough to help restore your gut integrity, right? 30 grams minimum. If you're only at 20 and you're already bloated, or if you start to increase your fiber, which is very, very common because of leaky gut in the beginning, then you need to, of course, do it more slowly. You can't just add a whole bunch of fiber to it all at once, because that's just going to blow up your gut, okay? So do it slowly and choose the right types of fiber for you, okay? If you need help with that, go to your healthcare practitioner and he or she can help you choose which fibers you are needing right now. Reduce alcohol consumption. We have to, right? If we're working on recreating health, we need to do that. Reduce use of non-steroid drugs, such as Advil, aspirin, and Motrin. So they have been shown in so many research studies that they can actually proactively cause damage in your stomach, to your stomach lining, but also to your intestinal lining. They can actually, they can damage cells. They can cause internal bleeding. So those are really powerful, nasty, harsh non-steroid drugs. And if you take them regularly, your gut is not going to like it. So reduce the use of it. And lastly, work on your stress management techniques to avoid chronic stress. So incredibly important because of the gut-brain connection, which I'm not going to be talking about here again, but really, really important to do that. So here's some glutathione boosting foods you can write down. The sulfur-rich foods, grass-fed beef, bone broth, onion, garlic, shallots, Also, selenium-rich foods such as organ meats, grass-fed beef, chicken, fish, shrimp, scallop, and Brazil nuts. And you see a theme here, right? It's a lot of like meat products. It's a lot of proteins, and that's the reason because proteins are your building blocks of your cells. Vitamin C foods, right, such as papaya, strawberry, and kiwi, are all really helpful in boost glutathione. And other supportive foods are cabbage, fresh veggie juice, aloe vera, okra, and slippery elm. So those are wonderful extra, almost like a little bit of a therapeutic food that you can increase in order to help boost glutathione in your body. I also like smoothies because why? Why do I like smoothies? Especially for women who are starting out on their gut health journey. It is because you can really, in a smoothie, it's a quick and easy way to get the good stuff into your system by sort of like bypassing digestion almost, because the fiber is being broken down for you, but the nutrients are staying intact, right? And it goes straight into the cells without digestion. And so it's alkalizing, it's energizing, it's cleansing, it's nourishing your liver, and it's packed with nutrients, right? So it can be extremely helpful in moving your health forward quickly. You will feel refreshed and energized if you're going on power smoothies. So I always like to add warm spices like cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, and turmeric to the smoothies to keep the body warm, right? They have like a warming energy delivery in your body, and they're energizing. So you can also add bee pollen for extra immune support, maca root for extra hormone support, wonderful, wonderful food for hormonal imbalances, or you can do extra collagen for an extra nutrition boost, extra protein boost. Let me see. Any questions? I'm sensitive to sulfur. Yes. So there you go, right? There you go. I hear that so often. And so we are avoiding these foods. And which means that we are avoiding bringing in those nutrients that we actually need in order to repair our gut, right? So that's it's something to work on for sure. Okay, so let's summarize. So inflammation, chronic inflammation, is hugely due to digestion and absorption having gone off track, right? It's a big component, as you now really understand. So you're here because you have been spinning in circles and you have been trying to get rid of the brain fog, the hair loss we talked about, that the fatigue, the joint pain, the low moods, by betting all you have on supplements and eliminating gluten and dairy. So this is what I see so often, right? So that we are just pulling in the supplements and betting everything on the supplements, but we have to do the other work as well. So you likely have not started supporting your digestion absorption with the right foods and lifestyle interventions. And this is what we just talked about. Okay, so this is really some strategies that we talked about in order to help you dial that in for you. I just want to let you know that gut integrity is always compromised in autoimmune. It always is. There's always a component to it. Okay, but the good news here really is that by focusing on optimizing each step of your digestion strategically, like I just gave you a glimpse into how you can start doing that, you can start to restore your digestive fire and reduce inflammation. It has to become a component of your day-to-day. I hope that makes sense. Just wanted to quickly share Renee. She was a client of mine. I worked with her for about a year. And I really just wanted to share this with you so that you can see what it looks like in real life, right? Because sometimes we get all the theory, right? And we absorb all the information, but how does it actually play out in real life? So Renee, and I'm so happy because she's actually coming into my group this week on Thursday as a guest speaker to talk about her journey. And she's going to be talking about time, because oftentimes we believe that things have to happen quickly, but it takes time. So she came to me and she had Hashimoto's, and she also had a host of other autoimmune diagnoses. She had SIBO, severe SIBO. When she came to me, she actually worked with a functional doctor, and she was on that eliminating foods for eliminating symptom, excuse me, hamster wheel. So she was cutting out a vast amount of foods, and she was starting to react to more and more foods. And by the end of it, she was being put on an elemental diet. Now, what does that mean? Elemental diet means when you're almost down to a liquid diet, because her digestive system couldn't handle anything anymore. And she still experienced the bloating and the fatigue. So that is the picture. To the left was when she came to me, and to the right is after, like I would say about 8 months in. You can feel that her entire expression was very, very different. So we worked on her digestion, right? And so by implementing an amplified focus on nutrient-dense foods in the right amounts and the right way of preparing for absorption, and this is where the food combining comes in, and how to prepare your foods, right? So you can digest it better. So her body started to digest and absorb more optimally. Her brain fog decreased. She had better sleep. She had better focus. Her bloating came down. And she also had, she was starting to incorporate more and more foods back to, fibrous food that she wasn't eating before. So, and then she says, it's liberating. And I want you to listen to this. It's liberating to finally see on this side that my gut wasn't healthy enough to digest the food. Because honestly, this is what my teacher always said to me in nutrition school. It is never the food. It's always your gut, right? It's always almost like my mantra. It's never the food. It's always the gut. And now that I'm experiencing a gut being populated by the right kind of bacteria, which she actually did a stool test, and she saw that her strains were diversifying in her gut, it's a game changer. I eat a meal containing beef, cabbage, kale, and rice for supper last night and had no discomfort and slept so well. Amazing that things are still improving. I still want to be able to eat beans. That's a biggie always, and cruciferous veggies with no bloat, but I know I will get there. So it is possible, right? So digestion, absorption is so powerful. She also says, so yesterday, for the first time in months, maybe even a year or two, I felt normal. I was sitting at my computer and I actually noticed that I had energy, natural energy, no caffeine. I was alert and didn't have brain fog and didn't feel distracted. And it's looking like today is the same. So with better digestion absorption, as you know, the nutrients will get to the right place, the inflammation will come down, and it will provide you with natural energy. A second case study, that's my last case study for you, just to connect with this, how powerful this can be for you. And this is Katie. So Katie came to me. She's a mom of 3, all under the age of 5, busy mom. And she was diagnosed with autoimmune disease when she was 12 years old, right? And ever since then, she had constant stomach trouble, extreme bloating, joint pain, extreme fatigue. And now that she was a mom of 3 under the age of 5, she realized that I just can't do it anymore. Like I need my life back. I need to be there for my family, and it's getting worse. And it was getting worse and worse and worse because she didn't know what to do. And she did a lot of research on her own, and she tried many different things on her own, and she was caught up spinning in circles like that. So she also had physical, emotional stress experience within the past 5 years. And then, of course, taking care of 3 kids is stressful in itself. So we started working together, and we focused on her digestion absorption, of course. many other things as well, but that was one of the main things that we focused on with her. And then we implemented protocols that amplified focus on highly anti-inflammatory foods, along with the liver cleanse and some specific supplementation and the digestion. And so for her, the fatigue came down. She actually started to have, she felt good in the morning. She felt energized in the morning. She created her own morning routine away from the kids. She started to lose weight that was just not budging because of inflammation around her waist after her pregnancies. She had severe migraines when her periods came on, which she had no more. She had the skin and the hair issues with the protein digestion absorption just not working properly. So her skin and her hair grew in. And then what was incredible to see too is that her C-reactive protein came down significantly. So that's a marker that shows inflammation in the body, and it came down for her. So she says that, since working on my health with this holistic nutritionist, I have gained so much knowledge. I have seen a shift in my health to the point where exhaustion and stomach issues are not a concern anymore after having stomach pain for years and years and years. So she says this is only just a tiny glimpse of the wonders that she has done for me. And honestly, I don't think I can thank her enough or say enough good things about her. So this is really just a glimpse into how powerful this is, right? If you are starting, if you know what you're doing, and if you're starting to do the work. So any questions? Almost at the end of the presentation. All right, so this is what I do in my practice. If you're ready to, take on that challenge, if you're ready to change the trajectory of your life and your symptoms and your health, when you're ready to invest in yourself, to not having to continue to throw darts in the dark, I'm always here. I invite you to connect with me. This is what I do. It's my purpose in life. It's my passion. I help women with an autoimmune to get to the other side within my Autoimmune Thriver Method program. Okay, so it takes time, like we all know. It's a 6-month mentorship program of being immersed in a nutrition and lifestyle mentorship program environment with other women as well that are really supportive. So I found that being immersed in a group is going to help you so much more in order to shift your health further more quickly. We do have weekly coaching calls, check-in calls every week. You're never alone. You always have me by your side. And the cool thing is that you get individualized nutrition plan and professional meal planning from me. So we're meeting actually 3 times during the 6 months, one-on-one, just you and me for an hour. And I'm creating a plan for you so that you can get to the other side as well. You get a customized supplement protocol specifically around your symptoms and what I believe is needed for your digestion, absorption, and liver, and all of these things. There's daily accountability support with direct access to me all the time through Messenger on my practitioner platform. I do have my own app, so we can all be in there, and we don't have to use Facebook if that is not something that you like. But the biggest thing is that you actually gain empowerment and confidence. So you learn, you get the education, you learn in how to make optimal nutrition and lifestyle choices for you specifically. And you gain the tools and strategies, some of them I just talked about, that I coach my clients on, along with the accountability to overcome your autoimmune symptoms for good, right? So to get rid of that roller coaster of eliminating foods for eliminating symptoms. So I invite you, I'm super excited to say that I have 5 spots available this round. And I'm taking 5 clients this time. And I decided to hand out an extra bonus. So an extra bonus for fast actors. Everybody who jumped on here or who watches this in the replay and wants to act fast on it gets 10% off the entire investment to make it easier for you to change your health in the future. You can email me at cmarshall.nutrition@gmail.com, or you can also apply with the form that I'm going to be, the application, I'm going to be dropping that in the comments. If that is something you want to do, fill out some questions so that I know who you are, if you're a good fit, or you can also DM me on Instagram. Okay, so I take 5 clients for April and May, starting April and May for the next 6 months. So if you have been thinking about anything like that, if you're done, if you want your health back, I would definitely recommend and invite you to have a chat with me. I would love to have you. Okay, so this is it. Let's chat and ask me all of your questions. Now it's your turn. What are your questions? I'm going to be stopping the share right now. Here we go. And here we are. And if you guys want to come off camera and just share with me, what was your biggest takeaway? What was your biggest takeaway? What was one of the things that okay, I'm going to be doing this. This is one strategy that I'm going to be using to help my gut. Okay, but let me go through the chat first. There's some really good questions. Is a noisy stomach a sign of poor digestion? Also, any thoughts on parasites? I do have a lot of thoughts on parasites. Yes, noisy stomach, sign of poor digestion. Sometimes it is, not necessarily. We all get it. It depends. It all depends on how often it happens, what type of noisy stomach you're talking about. So Kate, if you want to unmute yourself and explain a little bit more in detail how it shows up for you, I can give you a little bit more specific information around that. The parasites, yes. So there's, I don't know, like everywhere on social right now, parasite cleansing. Yes, so parasites are definitely something that can, trigger inflammation. However, we have parasites in our gut all the time. They actually, so when you go into research and literature, it's parasites are actually living in us in symbiosis with the other gut bacteria. But only if there is a pathogenic parasite in you that is causing you harm, which you can test for, then I would definitely recommend to get rid of that parasite. But it's not necessary to go on parasite cleanses all the time, because this is only disrupting your gut microbiome. So I hope that makes sense. Does cooking veggies change the fiber amount? Yes, it does. So cooking veggies is definitely something that changes the fiber amount, and so is blending, right? However, so cooking vegetables can be very helpful in repairing digestion because of that fact, right? So there's always fiber in it, but the amounts of fiber are going to be lower for sure. But with cooking, oftentimes what happens is that certain other nutrients like phytonutrients, so the color in your food and other nutrients that are really helpful in nourishing your microbiome, are actually being supported. So you get more value, more nutrient density sometimes with cooking for some foods. So it can be a good strategy to repair your gut, to just start to cook your veggies a little bit more if you're reacting specifically if you're reacting to raw foods. So a lot of women I work with are actually having issues with raw foods, but they keep eating it because they think it's good for you, and it is, but not if your digestion cannot handle it. Thoughts on drinking organic celery juice on an empty stomach in the morning? I felt amazing doing that years ago and considering restarting. Awesome, Brenda. I love it. Yes, absolutely. There's nothing wrong with drinking organic celery juice on an empty stomach in the morning. It's a beautiful, is Brenda still on here? Yes. It's a beautiful way to break the fast. so to speak. And I'm not talking about intermittent fasting. I'm talking about overnight fasting, because that's what we do. We fast overnight. Yeah, celery juice has an amazing amount of, hey Brenda, phytonutrients in there, highly anti-inflammatory. It's a good choice. It's a good choice. And it also has a lot of, it will give you energy, right? Because the juice is going to be, like we said before, bypassing your digestion. So it's going to give you that good shot of energy. I love my celery juice. I do. My mic isn't working, so sorry, but it's noisy after eating and when I lay down at night. Okay. Yes. So if it happens all the time, not just specifically with, like if it would only happen when you eat specific foods, I would definitely relate that to the food and then work on my digestion. But if it happens all the time, then yes, there is digestion issues happening. So, it's like your stomach is churning all the time, right? And so if it's overly churning and it's making this noise, then it's not breaking down your food properly. So I would definitely start working on stomach and see if your stomach acid is good, and you can do some hydrochloric acid testing, and then you can really figure out if that is something that your body needs in order to break that down a little bit more. Yeah, I hope that was helpful, Kate. Yeah, especially too when you lay down at night. I mean, laying down at night. So think about timing of food. Think about timing of food. When is the last meal that you're eating? Because best case scenario, to alleviate inflammation and to, support digestion, is you don't want to have any food in your digestive tract when you go to sleep. And why is that? Because you might or might not know that your liver is at its most active at night, right? So you want to make sure that your liver gets all the energy, not your digestion, right? So you want to make sure that there's not much food happening inside your digestive tract at night. So make sure you stop eating like at least 2 hours before you actually go to bed. Lie down. That'll help. Okay. All right. Any other questions before we call this? No. Okay. Okay. Awesome. I hope this was helpful, ladies. And I will send out the replays. You can always go back, check your email. There's a nice PDF that or JPEG that I put together for you with specific foods you can use for your digestion. And again, the ATM, the Autoimmune Therapy Method program, is open for 5 ladies to start in April or May. And you're welcome, Brenda. You're so welcome. Have a great day. And yes, I accept 5 clients. And if you are thinking this is what you need, you can get the 10% off to make it easier for you. So let me know. All right, everybody. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of the day. And Helen, go to bed. It is so late for you. And I will see you again very soon. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.